All right, have and have not fans, we are back. My first episode review for the back half of season 7. Episode 11, The Power of Attorney. 5 out of 10. Yeah, it was not that great. Hold your pitchforks. I'll explain later. But for now, like the video, subscribe if you are new. Everyone, hit the bell and select all. That way you're notified when I do live streams. We had an amazing time last night. I know that notifications didn't go out, but we had well over 300 people. And every Tuesday, since the show's coming on at 8 p.m., I'm going to be watching live. I will be live tweeting and then taking notes. And then after the episode, I'll hop on YouTube. We'll go live. And then on Wednesdays, I'll have my reviews up. That's the new formula, and it's going to be amazing. And aside from liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell, follow me on social media because my Twitter's down there. Go to the description box of every video I have. Links to all of my platforms are there. So go ahead and do that. Now, look, the second episode was better than the first one, so don't worry. The second episode is not getting a 5 out of 10. I looked over my notes and I thought about it. Both of these episodes, and I'll do a separate video talking about my thoughts on the premiere as a whole, but this will just be me doing a brief little foreshadowing. Both episodes kind of dragged in places, but the only reason these episodes for me personally felt good in some way, there were a lot of twists, turns, and OMG moments. Because remember, this is reshoot territory. They did season 7 reshoots last year. So there's stuff that I could be completely wrong about. Like theories I had 6 months ago could be completely retconned now because of the reshoots. Keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and break down the episode. So the episode starts off, okay, I ain't gonna lie, the first 10 minutes or so were kind of boring. Catherine's just constantly calling for the guards to show up. They're like, what the hell? And then basically the cop calls a medic. I think it's Officer Mitchell. I know Officer Mitchell is the guy that was shot at the end of the second episode. Or was it Officer Miller? I forget. Either way, the officer comes in. He calls in a second person because he calls in a medic as well. They check Wyatt. And Catherine, even though she's behind bars, she's doing a better job at seeing what they can do to save Wyatt. Can you check and see if he has a pulse? Can you do CPR? It doesn't seem like those two officers were doing anything because I'm like, and I said this in the video when they released the trailer a couple weeks ago. I'm not an expert, but don't they need a stretcher? Like a medic will come in, officially see what's wrong, and then they'll have a stretcher to take Wyatt out of there. Because these two people barely had Wyatt, and they took him out of the the cell, and I'm like, is the one dude grabbing Wyatt where he cut himself at to lift him off the ground? What kind of foolishness is that? Not to mention, look, not to make jokes, but remember when D.L. Hughley passed out of that comedy club right before he was diagnosed with COVID? And then, I think he said his security guard was the one that was there that was supposedly got him. He's like, hey, we got him. I got him. Then he actually let D.L. fall. That's how it felt watching Wyatt being taken out of the jail like that. And then Catherine is just begging and pleading for, her to get any updates on her son. Next up, we got Carden, and again, this is where I'm like, ugh. Benny's going on and on about the whole Derek thing. He's going to add up the birth date, the dates, from when Derek was in jail to how old Candace is. And Candace, what was sad about this scene? Remember when Candace used to be able to lie? She was like the master of deception. I mean, you could argue, well, Jeremy Benny's been through so much with Candace, he's able to, see through her BS. I understand that, but this was just cringy to watch. I'm like, okay, how long are we going to drag out this scene? Basically, he's saying, you know what? No. I'm going to get answers from Ma. That's what we're going to do. I want to find out what's going on with this man. He got the lion tattoo, and then Hannah isn't around. But, Benny wants the truth. So, in any case, we get to Landon and Oliver. Again, another scene I'm like, ugh. Oliver comes in claiming to have helpful info. Landon's not buying this BS. And then he goes on about ice cream like he's Eddie Murphy. I got some ice cream and you can't have it. I got some. I'm like, Landon calling him out for being like 7 years old. Yeah, this episode did not start off well. It did not. Long story short, Candace apparently had booked a flight, and Oliver knows that if Landon loses Candace, then he's screwed because Candace is pretty much the main thing that can help Landon get his job back with Charles. So if he loses Candace, that's it. So he makes a phone call to a person named Jen because apparently, look, Landon, I feel like Landon is burning up a lot of his favors trying to get Candace back with Charles. But basically, a woman named Jen is on the phone, and he wants Candace Young to be placed on a no-fly list for the time being. All right, so then we get over to the first scene of the episode that actually had me interested. Vinny, Mitch, and Sandy Malone. And remember, I did an interview with Vinny Malone a couple weeks ago. The interview is up on the channel. They're asking, so how'd the black kid, pay for the money? And of course, Mitch is defending his friend. It's like, you know what? If you want to talk about him, call him Benny, not the black kid. Basically, okay, Mitch, how'd you get the new truck? How'd the black kid pay for his debt? What's going on? And Benny's like, I'm going to find out how he got the money. And if you remember, Jim gave $75,000 to Mitch to give to the Malones. $50,000 is how much Vinny wanted to clear the debt of his throat being slashed. But then remember, $20,000 is what Vinny owed, along with an additional $5,000. Wait, am I wrong? Was it 20? Yeah, it was 20,000 and then 5,000 interest. And I was like, Mitch, he's playing in the deep end. He's too cocky. So we might actually have a situation where we find out that, or Vinny finds out that all the money came from Jim and Benny didn't technically pay the debt, which honestly is a stupid loophole, but whatever. All right, so Sandy, turns out he's dating a black chick. Did not catch this girl's name. I need to look at the end credits to get it, but apparently she's breaking up with him via restraining order, and he doesn't give a crap. He's like, look, you're going to be over my place tonight, because in his mind, it ain't over. And he's like, oh, I know why you came down here with this restraining order, because the cops wouldn't come down to a Malone setting. So don't forget this black, I want to say black chick, I'm sorry, because I don't know her name yet. But yeah, this black chick, I feel like she's going to play an important role in upcoming episodes. I'll do a separate video on that in the near future. So again, it's like one of those situations where, oh yeah, I don't like black people, but I'll date a black woman. So then Vinny gets a phone call, and Mama Rose got arrested for DUI. And we saw a new side of Vinny here, because Vinny's like, okay, let's go get her. It's like, hey, Mitch, you stay here, run the bar. But that's my grandmother. Like, Mitch, stay here. And I'm like, oh, okay, dang. Okay, Vinny, don't worry. I'll go wipe down the bar. So I'm like, oh, snap. Then we get to yet another boring scene. Madison and Jeffrey get home from their date. David's on the couch like, no, I'm awake. And then Jeffrey's like, is it okay if Madison spends the night here? Sure. I'll go out for a little while. I need to go see Jim or something. And it's like, really? So they go, David steps outside in his PJs and he forgets his car keys. He asks Leo if, hey, can I borrow your car just for a drive or something like that? And, yeah, David is just a bit taken aback by, because remember, he walked in on Jeffrey and Madison. All right, so Madison is like a horny, and again, I hate what they're doing with the Madison character. Okay, if you watch my video where I talk about the trailers, then I said they were cutting grass. There's actually leaf blowers outside now. Sorry about that. All right, so in any case, Jeffrey gets on my nerves. Okay, both of them get on my nerve, because Jeffrey's like, you know what? No, I don't think we should do this, because my dad is like, number one, your dad has already left. Number two, if you didn't want to do anything with Madison, why would you bring Madison home with you? Jeffrey, what the hell? So in any case, Madison starts stripping. Jeffrey does it. But this scene was very cringy until Jeffrey's like, let's do it at my mom's house. What? And then we switch scenes. Okay, Oliver calls Akil. Remember, he's the dude with the accent. He's working for Jim. He's the one that Jim had kidnap Benny, and also the one who's apparently going to be the hitman for Veronica. Well, the hitman that's going to kill Veronica because David gave Jim permission. So turns out Oliver and Akil apparently have this hooking up thing. I don't even want to say relationship, but they hook up a few times. I don't know. But one of the most important parts of the episode, Akil has been following around Candace for Oliver. And apparently, aside from her just going around shopping here and there, she apparently purchased a pregnancy test. Could Candace be pregnant? But keep in mind, just because Candace may or may not be pregnant doesn't mean it's Charles. It could be Charles's baby, it could be Warlock's baby, or it could be Oscar's baby. All three men she's had sex with recently. Warlock forced himself on her multiple times. She had sex with Oscar in the hotel when she had him drugged and then stole the information from his computer to get Wyatt's inheritance. And then, of course, her and Charles have, danced around a few times. So just because she might be pregnant doesn't automatically mean that it's Charles's baby. Just keep that in mind, folks. But apparently Jim doesn't know that, Akil is working for him. Apparently Oliver's dad too. I need to rewatch the conversation. But Oliver wants all the information about Candace. Apparently Akil brings up the fact that Veronica Harrington's involved in this as well. Oliver just wants all the information because he's coming up with a plan. And then Landon walks in on him and, he pretty much like, oh, that's my girlfriend. I know you don't have a girlfriend. Yeah, Landon, my thing is, do you think Oliver might send Akil to kill Landon because Landon knows too much, or he's getting together a lot of information and Oliver doesn't like it? But then we switch over to the scene. Hannah pops up at the Malone bar and she wants answers about the Malones in regards to the whole protection racket going on in regards to her children having that money. And Mitch is like, look, this is not a good place for you and you need to get out of here. But she sits her butt down and has a drink. And I'm like, Hannah, take your ass home. This is not the time for this. But then we have Mitch calling Benny because remember, Mitch is running the bar. So he makes a phone call to Benny about Hannah being there. And, he and Candace are at the house because Benny's like, no. He wants answers. Candace isn't going anywhere. He wants the answers to the questions about Derek. And he is not allowing, because Candace is trying to catch a flight. But he's like, nope, you ain't doing that. And Candace is like, excuse me? So, no, Benny isn't allowing anyone to leave. But they both rush down to the bar to get their mom because it is not going to be good if the Malones get back and she's still there. All right. So now we get to two new characters who I'm like, wait, who are these guys? They are at a place called, hang on, I jotted it down, Daisy Steaks, I believe. And they're talking about the situation apparently, and again, this is before we knew who they were. Okay, so they're apparently brothers, Don and John. Very original, Tyler. They are Catherine's accountants, and apparently they're trying to secure another accounting client. And they're like, oh yeah, they're name dropping Catherine Cryer because, oh yeah, you can drop my name if you need to get more clients because you work for me. But apparently, one of the brothers got the call about, the Catherine Cryer situation of her being in jail. And then they talk about how, Marty is going to give him a phone call soon. And, sorry, I got to switch pages here. Now, basically, they're under the assumption that they'll be the ones who are given the power of attorney and they'll become the executors for the Cryer estate. Because apparently they have their own business venture that they want to pursue, but they need about $5 million in order to do it. So Marty calls and says that he wants to see them at the office right now, and they literally had just ordered dinner, but they're like, hey, can you hold the table? So they up and leave. All right, so we get a new character, Tanner. This is Tanner from New York, one of Justin's brothers. Apparently Pearl has been nagging his brother to go see Justin, or excuse me, Pearl had been nagging Tanner to come down and visit Justin, which begs the question, Tanner's from New York and Justin's in Savannah. Was there not another family member who lived closer that could see him? But then we see Tanner looking at the wall and noticing Justin's sick collage of all the Jeffrey photos. And we learn that because Pearl actually brought this up the last time she was in the show, when Justin was younger in school, he was caught in the locker room with another boy. And apparently Tanner and all of Justin's other brothers and I hate to say this, but this is honestly what it sounds like. They got together and allegedly beat the gay out of Justin. And apparently he is not against doing that again if Justin doesn't give his act together, because he's like, so what's going on? What's going on with your family, your wife, your kid? If you remember the last time we saw Justin's wife, he signed all these documents, divorce, restraining order, the custody of his child, all of it. And she handed him some keys with a trailer that had all of his belongings in it. He literally signed everything away without reading over the documents because he was in love with Jeffrey. He gave it all up. Hence why for the longest time, I gave up everything for you. You made me do this. No, you did this to your damn self. So then Tanner leaves. Do I feel bad for Justin? Absolutely not. Am I interested to see where the story goes? Of course. But I don't feel bad for him. I mean, it is sad to have your own family do that to you, but Justin hasn't done anything. This is one of the things that Tyler Perry does sometimes. You write these characters so incredibly evil, almost to an unredeemingly evil, a point of being evil. So when you try to throw in scenes like this to want people to feel sorry for people like Justin, I don't, because he's done too much foul stuff. But hopefully we see Pearl again. And another question is, do you think that Tanner and the other brothers might go after Jeffrey in order to, kind of like how Veronica goes after like Landon and Madison and Justin? Oh, you're the cause of my son being gay, so I'm going to deal with you myself, because without you around, he'll be straight. I wonder if Pearl will look at Jeffrey in the same way. Who knows? But then we get to another scene. Veronica, this is from the teaser scene we had. Veronica's just walking around her house. She's pouring herself a drink. She looks a bit unsettled, but she's staring at the pool like, that's where he did it. That's where he did it. And sees somebody out there. What the hell? It's the dude's name, Andre or something. Look, I know it begins with an A. I can't think of his name. It's the main thug. Apparently, he's waiting for her to come in. And she's like, if you don't get out of that pool, what's going to happen if I throw a plugged-in hairdryer in there? It's like, okay. Apparently, he was at the same restaurant as Jeffrey and Madison during their date. Because at first, I'm like, wait a minute. Is Veronica going to send the thugs after Madison? But in any case, he wants her on her knees, but then she pretty much flips it, saying, no, I ain't one of these little bees that you have in the street. You want to go ahead and go down on your knees for me. And you got about 30, what she say? Was it 30 seconds or 20 seconds to prove to me why you should still be here? But it's I only need 5 seconds. And basically, she's like, where's that light-skinned one? Remember, it was a light-skinned thug that she wanted to come back. And he's like, why don't you jump in the pool to, wash the stank off? I'm like, oh, the first Veronica snarky remark of the season in the back half. But apparently, after a few seconds, she was like, you know what? Upstairs right now. So they go upstairs. So then we go over to Candace and Benny trying to get Hannah to leave. She's like, what are you talking about? It ain't the 1950s anymore. I'm staying over here. I'm like, Hannah has no idea how bad things are going to get if she does not leave. Benny can't get her to leave. Candace can't get her to leave. Mitch can't get her to leave. Mitch is telling Candace that, look, this is going to ruin everything, especially that lie that he told Jim about the protection. So this is not going to work out. Candace makes a phone call to a guy named Milo in order to come down to get Hannah to leave. Candace like, Benny, you got 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes. If she does, and look, if you can't get her to leave, you need to go home because it's about to get ugly up in here. So that's the end of that scene. And then the final scene, Jim is just chilling in his hospital bed. A guy comes in. He assumes it's like the janitor to take out the trash. And it's a Latino. It's like, oh, so a Latino in a suit. Turns out it's Celine's son. And he pulls out a gun. And that's the end of the episode. Don't worry. I got plenty to say about this man in the next episode. But, guys, that was the end of Power of Attorney. And the reason I gave it a 5 out of 10 is because it dragged on in so many places. But at the same time, there were a couple of scenes that I'm like, okay, this is getting good. I mean, just being introduced to a lot in the next episode, we're in the same situation. From the cops not getting a stretcher for Wyatt, for them poorly taking care of the guy trying to get him out of jail. Not to mention, the Candace, like the episode didn't start popping off until we got to the Malone bar, because before that it was just boring. The writing felt stale, And then after that, we had the Madison and Jeffrey scene. And guys, like I always say, it's nothing about it being two men. It was just poor storytelling. I hate what they've been doing with Madison's character lately. And let's see, what else was there? Hannah's demeanor, which again will translate over into the next episode. I'll probably repeat this in a couple episodes, but I mean a few videos, but it really felt like these two episodes focused more on the secondary cast and new characters, while the main characters were kind of like, you know, footnotes. But that's not a bad thing, because actually it just shows that, oh damn, a lot of stuff is about to happen this season. So that's why I gave the episode a 5 out of 10. It doesn't have that same rewatchability as the next episode, though, which I'm about to review now. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts of the episode Power of Attorney. How did you like it? Do you agree with my score of a 5 out of 10? Do you think it was better than a 5? Do you think a 5 is okay? Do you think it should be lower than a 5? Also, like I said before, subscribe and hit that bell notification, because I got a crap ton of videos to do. Go over to the community tab. I posted a list. I got about 25 videos. Technically more, because they dropped information about Delilah this morning, so I got to talk about that. So I'll probably do close to 30 videos before the weekend. My God. All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to my first episode review of the back half of 2020. And I hope you check out the other review one way or another. So if you'd like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or you can join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.